To provide a comprehensive overview of today's discussions, I now invite our keynote speaker and moderator, Mr. Gazi Jishan, FCCA, CIA, CRMA, and co-founder of QORMOTHO, to deliver the keynote presentation.
Good morning. Am I audible? Hello, everyone. A very good morning to all of you. Wow. Let me just digest this for 1 second while the computer gets connected. I am happy and proud to stand in front of you, all of you today. I've got friends, mentors, employers, well-wishers from around the world sitting in front of me. And I also have my father, also who I am presenting in front of, so I'm nervous from that bit. Rest is fine. So I will just be your keynote presenter for today, but as you know, it is more of a joint discussion that's going to happen after this bit of the presentation. So I have been in the teaching industry for a while. Some of you know me as a ACCA tutor. And in teaching, you ask questions. So I start my presentation with a question. So the question for all of us is outsourcing or a career? And this question is for all of you. Do you find outsourcing as a job, or do you find it as a career? It would have been nice if it was a poll, but traditional approach, let's show of hands who of you think outsourcing is a job. Can I see raise of hands? Nobody. How many of you think outsourcing is a career? Majority. Amazing. I thought it would have been the other way around. And the rest of you are figuring out what is a job versus a career. That's fine. So, yes, it is a buzzing word. It has taken the headlines for a number of years. And by some virtue, we have been privileged to have been in the forefront in the outsourcing industry. That's why I'm speaking here today. Let me take you through the statistics which will let you think, and I will try to connect it to our opening speech of how outsourcing industry in the finance and accounting works. And most of you will be very familiar that it starts off with the basic bookkeeping, data entry, accounting, record keeping, and so on. And that's what freelancing is all about. That's what accounting and finance outsourcing looks like at the very beginning. But if you dive into it, and if you see how the industry have evolved, it's no longer stuck there. It has actually stepped forward upwards towards giving a service which completely makes a virtual finance office. The finance department does not exist physically, and it is from a virtual location. And it doesn't stop there. It has moved deeper up to the level where we all finance professionals, my fellow members of ACCA, or any accounting professional would dream the very first day in your accounting life, you would dream to become a, can I hear some noise? CFO or CEO, even better, a CEO, business owner. But then the first day, you don't really become a CEO. You start to think or dream that I would become a CFO. And that's what actually the outsourcing industry have taken us. Companies no longer stop at virtual finance office, bookkeepers and record keepers. They actually give you complete services up to a virtual CFO, VCFO. How many of you are familiar to this term? Fractional CFO, they call it. Here, you have this term. How many of you are practicing as a virtual CFO? We have someone practicing member right in front of us. But as you can see, it's not too many of us because probably we haven't decided outsourcing to be our mainstream career. But I would like to try to trigger your mind that how the outsourcing industry looks like and what the volume and what the privileges and what the industry promises to be in the future. Now, this is a global perspective. I need to move that screen out of me so you can see global on this side. Can you move that one here, sorry, if possible? Anyway, so this is the global perspective. It is 48.5 billion worth of industry, just accounting and finance, IT-enabled services, and so on and so forth. As our previous speakers and the chief guests have all mentioned, there are multiple aspects of outsourcing. And it starts with IT, call center, customer support, but we are today focusing on accounting and finance. The interesting bit is the growth, which this 48.5 billion will soon become 100 only accounting and finance. Nobody is behind on this. We heard about PwC. The big fours are here, and the big fours are everywhere grabbing this market because they know where the industry is moving towards. If you see by the region of market share, that's how it looks like, and North American, European market leading from the front, and we have the next market emerging, probably in given 10 years' time, the Middle East and so on. So that's the global outlook. I'm not presenting anything new here. I wish I could move away from there. It says Bangladesh. So this is Bangladesh, which today, the finance and accounting, according to BDA's report, 2024, is 5,000 crore, which is the industry size of 2024. The interesting bit is the growth is higher than the global growth. The traction is higher, the attraction is higher from the client side as well, which will lead in 10 years' time, in fact, in 7 years' time, it's going to be 10,000 crore market. We've got N number of accounting freelancers going for it, different platforms serving for these industries, services, right? So as you can realize, there's a huge potential, if not now, in the future. And probably if you look from a perspective or the lens of the world outside, and need to mention here COVID-19 impact, the progress is only compounding and compounding forward. Now a bit of theory. We've got 3 types of outsourcing: onshore, nearshore, and offshore. Just to keep this in mind, it's going to be relevant for a bit later. So we need to understand there are 3 types of outsourcing. Outsourcing doesn't only mean giving the work to a or country. It also means outsourcing onshore, which is you outsource to your own country. So when you see North America there, North American companies are outsourcing, but to a local consulting firm. So if you think of it, the competition is not only that we as the South Asian countries, the competition is really global and really major. Nearshore, a neighboring country, European countries, would prefer an outsourcing destination to be European country for UK, European country for North America, South America, cheaper labor, still they know the cultural fit, same time zone. That's the preference. And offshore is where we see it when we want to 100% serve the foreign clients. So this perspective, just to keep it bear in mind, because this is something probably as organizations who are in the trade, they need to keep in mind and compete with. I wish I could move from there. It says digital transformation. What is triggering outsourcing industry? And this is nothing. You go, and I'm not going to repeat this because we know this already. I'm not going to add anything here because these are the factors what actually leads the offshore outsourcing industry, and that's important for our discussion today. As Bangladeshi organizations, we would like to put Bangladesh into the map and earn from a foreign forward Western economy and build our economy. And these factors are really driving forces, the top factors which we can see the growth is driven by, and we are all familiar to this. Now, until now, I haven't mentioned anything that you don't know. Maybe you look it up, you know it already. But I'm here to share some perspective, some insights, which was mentioned by Ms. Proma, that we're going to discuss some insights which enable our learning. So I've put up a slider of QORMOTHO company. Now, what has happened in the recent past is the growth have been exponential. We have always retained a 5-star client service delivery because of we are focused on the quality output. The clients are really relying on our work because it is financial data. It becomes a little bit more sensitive because it is financial data compared to a customer service or maybe a call center or IT-enabled services. This becomes a really business, finance, confidential data that we have to take care of. So we make sure that we do that well. ACCA becoming one of the training hubs that taught us how to do it right. So that's the first bit. And we also moved on, grow our company from 2018. Towards the end, we were 5 employees that started the work, working as a project, and few accounts and so on. And we employ 55 employees as of the end of last year. We now have incorporated our offices in UK and in Qatar because I'm based there. And we also have moved our office from the very first office being a 350 square feet, small space, accommodating 5 members, to a 3,500 square feet, get everybody under one roof. And that's a few bits of it. I think the snapshots are just to put in front of you to introduce QORMOTHO so that now the perspective that I'm going to discuss will sort of sound relevant or valuable to you. Now I have to wait for the screen because this you need to see. Reconnect. Off. Okay. Just with us 2 minutes. Keep the conversation going on. So as the program suggests, hopefully to have some interaction from the audience as well. In the next bit, after the presentation is completed, we will have on stage the panel members. So we also would like to interact as a panel and as well as the audience. So feel free to ask questions or keep your questions ready at the Q&A session because maybe the question will lead to some responses which will be beneficial for all of us. So it was mentioned at the opening speech that not one person cannot do everything, but each of us can do something. So that's very rightly put, that we have certain stakeholders here who needs to work together to make this successful as an industry outlook. And it's not one of the entities or one side, and everyone has a role to play. As qualified ACCA members, as finance professionals, practice owners, Big Four, and the policymakers, educators. That's probably the depth of the audience today, and everybody can actually make this into the new era of accounting and finance. So I think we have some difficulty here. Let me continue verbally.
Just a minute more, sir.
Okay. That's exactly the IT risk that outsourcing companies face. And actually, when we are disconnected and when you overcome challenges, you actually become more resilient. And one of the factors that we all faced as a country in 2024, as we're disconnected from the world, if you like it, and then the clients were stuck, we were offline, and the work was stuck. And my good team here on this table, just can I have a round of applause for Team QORMOTHO on this table? Raise your hand if you want to. So the guys here who manages the people, the manages the delivery, have actually shown pure resilience. As I was outside country, so I was able to communicate, but the challenges faced locally here was unmatchable. And when you overcome such a challenge, everything again looks or feels possible. And that's what happened for Bangladesh. And promises of Bangladesh of the future is in front of us. So I guess that's something very phenomenal. Should I continue, Wali bhai? Okay. So that's the stacks I was going through. Now, here's the inside bit. Now, I'm going to talk from an organization perspective, but I guess you will realize, or what I want to share here now, some of the insights that I've gathered down, boiled it down into a very short summary of what we could all work toward to make Bangladesh as an accounting finance dedicated or specialized choice for the global world. And I put it down into 3 pillars. Pillar number 1 being the people. We cannot think without the people. And we had a mention right here in the opening speech that AI is taking over many parts of business for automation and so on, but the people element will never be replaced. If you remember the slide in the beginning, the bookkeeping part may be replaced by a technology, a software, but the CFO part, the virtual CFO, will never be, for the time being as we see it. So the people element, the process element, that internal to the business, and position of the business. So bear with me on these 3 aspects. So on the people side, and I'll try to keep it very simple so that we cover in time. We talk about skills, that is the needed skills. The people skills, technology, having the right qualification, the language that was highlighted by Mr. Arif, and the time zone. Now, if you think of it, each of them are very important element working in an outsourcing context. When we hire, we look at the skills that the person has. We rarely see the bit of only the certification or only some previous experience. We would like to have people of a combination of such combination of skills which they can come and plug and play. And time zone being very important. You work in a country, you're working in a different time zone, across the night, across the evening. So you need to be very passionate about this choice. Because we see very randomly, very, very frequently, someone very excited about outsourcing industry, but later realizing that this is not my play. And you need to tune up for this, the time zone bit. I think the rest of the bit are well spoken about, the language, And if you speak of a little bit of language, then the language proficiency will actually get you into the newer market. For example, if you have Arabic language skill, Bangladesh can actually capture the Arabic Middle Eastern in when it will offer us. But that is something we need to upskill beforehand. We need to understand how to run this organization. You would previously, you would see a company and the managers would look or be very experienced. They would have 20 years of experience, N years of experience, many industry experience to become a manager. But if you just turn your faces and look at our managers, they are the youngest fleet in the room, and they are managing a portfolio, and they have to manage the people and the service delivery, which is why you need to know what motivates your staff so you can get the best out of them. You need to come out of the traditional approach to a modern approach. Money doesn't motivate people. The talents does not stay because of salaries. Believe it or not, it is research. And you apply it, you will see results. I see some smiles there. So the number one factor which motivates people is autonomy, or one of them is autonomy. You give freedom, you give space to work, but with accountability. You know what is right and what is wrong, but you let employees decide. That's what the generation wants today. They don't want to be instructed, they don't need to be micromanaged, and so on and so forth. So if you do this, you will find a talent attracted to you. And you need to have a visionary purpose. The employees need to know, what are you working for? This company is going somewhere. It's addressing a global, a national, or an economic purpose. That will drive the employees. Number 3, you need to recognize efforts being made. Combining these 3, you would really retain and nurture talent. And missing out on some of the items, you will see the talent shortage that was addressed in the start of the speech is going to affect this industry and deliverable. Last bit, very important, the leaders of the organization, the qualified accountants, need to be working on their marketing skills. Now, accountants are generally shy, the shy type. They don't want to talk about sales or marketing because accountants are very, this in the finance office or in the audit office, and that's how we have groomed up. But when you are a business owner, you need to hone up your marketing skills. You need to be a marketeer because you are selling services which you need to showcase to the world. Can I see how many of you agree that accountants are shy and not very happy with marketing? I see some, very many hands, thank you. So that is something that the skills also, or the people aspect, the leaders are not out of it. The workforce need to be trained on such aspects. The leaders needs to be trained on these aspects. I mentioned business and marketing skills. So that's something to take away. Process. That's the process bit. You need to have softwares. Well, it came this way. Let's start again. You need to talk to your customers because that's what your foreign clients really demand. They need to know that's how they operate. They work on data, they work on KPIs, they are very, very specific what they need. Unlike our country, how we operate on the go, you need to understand that by talking to your customers. You need to have your software expertise, you need to have a blend of services so you can grab the market, grab the project as it comes to you, and you need to make sure you retain the knowledge because there will be always some turnover and transition in your workforce. Position is very interesting. We all start somewhere as a general bookkeeper, general accountant. I was speaking at the before the presentation. That's okay, and that's the starting point. But if we work towards specialization, that means you will be a niche, specialized unit working towards a particular industry solving a problem. Remember something, the foreign companies have looked out for you because they are in a problem and you are offering a solution. So think of us going to a doctor. We don't go to a general doctor. We always look for a specialized doctor for taking care of our health problems. So similarly, the business owners are in a problem. They are losing their staff. the salaries or wages are increasing, they are not able to retain their knowledge, or they want to expand in a flexible way, you need to offer the solution. That is called niche. If you can, by industry, you can niche by industry. You can also niche by type of service. You only do tax returns, or you only do financial reporting. So there is a lot of aspects that you can niche by. You can also niche by the stage of a company. You only work with startup companies. So any startup around the world would look at you and think of this company or this organization can solve my problem. And you need to build that up with time. You may consider overseas presence to have your position in the front foot, and that helps in somehow getting that traction or reliability in place. That's something that we understand. And keep taking client referrals, because that really works well. That's something that's going to make you grow, especially in the early years and so on. So this is how you can consider a BPO firm based in Bangladesh could actually do that. Some of these things we are actually doing. We are not master of all as QORMOTHO. Some of these things we are still doing, we are practicing. Some of these things we already implement. So this is the journey that I wanted to share as an insight from QORMOTHO. So if you get it all right, probably we'll be in a desired position that we all want to be. I am towards the end of my presentation with a question to you: what can we do to be the finance and accounting BPO destination of the world? And to answer this, I guess we are not going to do it. I'm not going to say you the answers. I don't have the answers to this, so we're going to have the panel set up for us to take us through this. Thank you very much. It was lovely speaking to you. I'll go down.